community and the nation more.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
In 4 weeks of air action against Serbian targets in Yugoslavia and Kosovo, the U.S. military has yet to suffer a single casualty. In a few hours of mindless violence today at a suburban high school outside Denver, 2 kids are believed to have killed and wounded about 50 of their classmates and then killed themselves. As we all begin to process what happened and begin to wonder why, consider this. According to one of the students from Columbine High School, who'll be joining us in a few minutes, the shooters may have belonged to a group that was known as the Trenchcoat Mafia. There were about 8 or 10 of them who wore black trench coats to school every day, no matter what the weather, and some of them used to draw swastikas on their body. It may or may not be relevant, but today, April 20th, would have been Adolf Hitler's 110th birthday. When you're trying to explain why high school students would blow away 25 or more of their classmates, wounding a similar number, one theory seems to be as good as the next. So what did happen today in Littleton, Colorado, this place that most of us had never heard of until today? Here's ABC correspondent Judy Muller.
Shortly after 11:15 Mountain Time, the first signs of trouble. Outside Columbine High School, in the parking lot, students hear the sound of gunfire.
And we looked over and we saw some guys peeking around the corner with guns. And we saw them shoot 3 people in the parking lot. And
That's when we knew it was real.
Yeah.
They saw the gunmen throw grenades or pipe bombs on top of the school roof. A number of witnesses recognized the two as members of a group called the Trenchcoat Mafia.
Yeah, they wear trench coats every day to school, and wear makeup and paint their nails and stuff. They're just I don't know, everyone kind of thinks of them as different, and they always just hang out with themselves only, kind of associate themselves with death and violence.
They always wear black clothing or dark clothing, glasses, berets. They get made fun of a lot.
Not a lot of kids like that.
Yeah.
They get made fun of a lot.
Yeah, by other students sometimes.
11:30, the fire alarm was sounded. School teacher Paula Reed hustled her students out.
As I got outside the building, right outside the building, teachers and administrators were yelling to the kids, get them out of here, get them out of here, get them all the way to the park.
At first, she said, there was no panic.
Kids started to run out of the gymnasium saying there are people in there with guns. But the general reaction from most of the people around me was, yeah, right, because there are no guns to speak of at Columbine. At least that's our perception of things.
But many students were trapped inside the building. For the next hour and a half, the 2 gunmen made their lives hell as they roamed the hallways, classrooms, and cafeteria, firing in every direction.
I heard people pray for their husbands, their children, you name it. Yeah. And at that point, these guys had chosen just to kill.
Senior Nick Foss witnessed the horror before he managed to escape.
I've never seen so many dead people in my life, and some of my friends did. You know, I've never seen someone's face shot off in front of me. It's not cool, not pretty. I can't get out of my head.
Some of the worst carnage was in the library.
There was a guy at a table right next to us, next to me and her, and they just shot him, and then walked away, and then he was just sitting there in a pool of blood.
We all got under the desk, and then they just started coming in the library and opening fire and shooting out bombs.
By noon, police SWAT teams had surrounded the building. They pulled students out whenever and however they could. One student who'd been wounded was pulled through a second-floor window. At a time when students would normally be finishing their lunch and returning to class, they were still fleeing, many taking refuge in nearby houses. The scene was chaos as paramedics tried to treat the wounded and parents tried to locate their children. Some of them were reunited at a nearby school. All the while, inside the Columbine High School, the shooting continued. At 12:15, the first of the wounded were taken to nearby hospitals. At approximately 1 p.m., nearly 1.5 hours after the shooting began, the SWAT team entered. Dozens of students ran out with their hands in the air. Police were wary that the gunmen might try to escape by blending in with the crowd. As the afternoon wore on, the wait became excruciating for those parents who had still had no word of their children. Many of them gathered here at a local public library near the school, where lists had been posted of names of children who had called in to let their parents know they were all right. For those who could not find the name on the list they were looking for, it was a very, very long day. Between 2 and 4 p.m., the scene in this neighborhood was one of extremes. Joy when families were reunited, and despair when the minutes ticked by with no news. Every now and then, an official would read off an updated list of those found. Then, at 4:16 p.m., the sheriff held a news briefing to deliver the news everyone feared.
Well, we've transported initially 14 to local area hospitals with gunshot wounds, and we've had, what I understand, 25 additional victims that were deceased.
7 p.m. Parents, students, teachers, and neighbors gather at the Light of the World Catholic Church, just a few blocks from the high school. And throughout this stunned community, people were repeating the same thing that too many other communities have said in recent years.
I just keep thinking that this does not happen at our school, and that I'm going to wake up and this is going to be over. Because, God, not at Columbine, you know? It happens in some other school somewhere else. It doesn't happen here.
Now that it has happened here, the gruesome but all too familiar denouement begins. The search for a motivation, the calls for tighter gun control, the counseling sessions at school, and the endless, endless grief. In Denver, I'm Judy Muller for Nightline.
Tomorrow morning's Denver Post identifies the two suspects as 18-year-old Eric Harris and 17-year-old Dylan Klebold. Both reportedly died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Joining us now from outside the scene of today's tragedy, John Stone, the Jefferson County Sheriff. Rough day, huh, Sheriff?
Rough day. Sad day for Colorado.
A sad day for the country. What is it that you can tell us about the situation inside that building now? Because I gather you still haven't been able to remove the bodies.
That's correct. We have an unsafe situation due to the amount of bombs we found in the school. We removed 12 of them out of there so far. We're running into booby traps at different locations due to the late hour here right now, and we're going to secure the site for the night. We can't even go in and remove bodies or do any of that identification because of the massive amount of ordnance that we run into in the building. It makes it an unsafe situation right now.
When you talk about bombs, what are you talking about? Pipe bombs or grenades?
I haven't seen any of the devices yet, but a lot of them are handmade devices, and but we've exploded several of them. We found them both outside in the parking lot of the school, outside of the school area, and so far a dozen of them in the school.
When you find them, and you've referred to booby traps, in what way are they set up to explode?
Well, we found one device on one of the suspect's cars that was set to detonate the gas tank as our officers were trying to secure it. We've got ordnance on the bodies of the suspects that needs to be deactivated before we can move those bodies.
So in other words, if I hear you correctly, before they killed themselves, they booby-trapped their own bodies?
That there's evidence of some of that on both bodies.
I did say before they killed themselves, and I think I have heard that, but I'd like to hear you confirm it. Are you satisfied that they committed suicide, or did they shoot one another?
We suspect that they probably killed themselves.
Have you been inside the building yourself, or is that
No. The only people we've got in the building were the SWAT units that went in and did the initial sweep, which took several hours. We've had 5 SWAT teams operating in there, including Denver Police Department, the FBI's, our SWAT team, Arapahoe County, and it took us a considerable amount of time to do it because of the things we were running into we weren't expecting, like those bombs. We had explosions in the school upon our initial entry. We had our officers, the school resource officer, and one of our motorcycle units in the initial entry exchanged gunfire with one of the suspects. It was a very unsafe situation here.
Has anybody been hurt by any of the bomb explosions, or have in fact any of the bombs exploded?
We have had bomb explosions in the school, and as far as the scene, we have not been able to examine the bodies well enough to know whether they were hit by bomb fragments or by weapons fire, but there was considerable weapons fire as well as the bombs detonated in the school.
You've obviously got, Sheriff, a really terrible human tragedy on your hands there, but particularly tonight in the sense that all the parents whose children have not yet been identified, they can't know yet. I mean, they don't know for sure one way or the other. What's being done to help these folks through the night?
Well, we've had this All of the victims' families and things over at one of the neighboring schools right now, and we've been briefing them as much as we possibly can on what's going on. We want to get this identification process done as soon as possible, but we want to do it safely. We don't need any more tragedies out here.
No, absolutely not. But when I say there's still this level of uncertainty, in other words, you don't know for sure who is dead in there, and all you've been able to do is, in a sense, identify people by process of elimination, I guess.
That's correct.
And are the parents, I don't even know what word to use. Are they satisfied with that? Are they able to put up with that?
Well, I think because of all that we've encountered here tonight and the fact that there's been people here who have been detonating the bombs, the community considers this a very real threat. We had another bomb that apparently went off as a diversion in another part of this neighborhood down here prior to our arrival. That could have been maybe to draw cars or something over to that scene.
You've had a couple of other arrests, I gather. Is it just because you feel these are people who were associated with the suspects, or that they themselves may be suspected of participating?
Well, we had three individuals we picked up that were dressed paramilitary, trying to get onto the school scene at the same time this was going on. From information we gathered, they are associated with these suspects, but whether they were part of this plot today still is to be determined. There's a lot of investigation to be done on this.
They're under arrest at the moment, or are they being held at the moment?
They were being held earlier. I haven't had a chance to check on the status of what exactly is going on with them right now.
All right, Sheriff Stone, it's good of you to have taken the time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
When we come back, we'll meet three of the students who witnessed today's horrific events.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Buick.